Hello and most welcome to 1939 of the 8th series. It's a brand new article coming up now. St. John's Apothecary, Differance, Textuality, and the Advent of Meaning by Robert M. Price. Anyone who has studied the Apocalypse of John, the book of Revelation, may have deemed it odd that the book is ostensibly a revelation, and yet it speaks in cryptic ciphers. It is the least understandable book in the biblical canon. What pray tell is revealed in it?
Revealed in it.
Perhaps, as I will suggest, something about language and texts in general is revealed. Revealed! Perhaps the Apocalypse, precisely in the denseness of its code, is the paradigm case of textuality. And this is disclosed through a deconstructive reading in the Apocalypse, paralleling Derrida's exegesis of the Phaedrus in Plato's Pharmacy. Pharmacy, indeed. Pharmacon, pharmakeia. John of Patmos did intend to reveal something, namely the second advent of Christ, the soon coming of the end of the age, the final Purusha of one called the Word of God. Why does he not say this plainly?
Plainly.
Plainly. Scholars once accounted for the strange figures of speech as something of a code to confuse the wrong readers, should the book ever come into the hands of hostile authorities. More recent scholarship on the apocalypse genre suggests that the symbolism is instead a mark of the genre's origin in the circles of Jewish sages. The symbol language is meant to pose riddles so that only the wise may discern the secrets God has vouchsafed for those with ears attuned to hear. Hear, listen up, hear.
Here.
But another reason many readers have trouble making sense of the text is that they are simply not prepared to recognize what it is trying to tell us. That Christ will return soon in the writer's own lifetime. That he did not return is so obvious, so much taken for granted, like the very air we breathe, that the promise that he would simply come soon remains invisible to average Bible readers.
Invisible.
Readers! It simply does not occur to the pious reader that John might have meant that. And now the fact, the long delay of the Purusha of the Word of God must be factored into any reading of the book, though originally, of course, it was not a factor at all. but it cannot be ignored. Ignored. The delay must cast a new light on the text. The text. What's next? Well, we have the text. So the apocalypse is a tissue of riddles and ciphers, promising an ultimate appearing of revelation. When we shall see face to face I suggest that here we have, in a nutshell, an allegory of reading, not only for the Bible in its entirety, but for all writings, all textuality, whatsoever. Every text is a page of code. Of mute signifiers. They are mute. This is clear to children who have not yet learned to read. Read. Or to adults looking at a page written in a language unknown to them. When we do learn to read the characters on the page, we are learning cryptography, how to crack the code before us. How to decipher the ciphers. And all the while we are reading, decoding, deciphering, we are anticipating the meaning we will find, the truth promised to us at the end of the process. process, a process. We are waiting for the glorious appearing of some word of truth that will lighten our darkness and illuminate our understanding. Our understanding. This is so whether you are reading the Upanishads or the instruction book for a new appliance. Appliance, appliance, come here. Come hither, dear appliance. But often that longing is disappointed, as full understanding does not dawn, as full recognition is delayed because either we cannot work out the cipher or the language is open to many meanings and we do not know where the truth lies. The text is cipher, and the promised Purusha of meaning eludes us, always eludes us, makes us wait and wait and wait and wait.
Wait. Let's stop there for today.
So if we just stop, 1939.
Page 106. 106. We began at 105. This is page 106.
Wait and wait.
You see. Yeah, page 106. 106. And we start at 105.
We stay on the page 106. The second paragraph here, mentioning, so the apocalypse is a tissue of riddles and ciphers, promising an ultimate appearing of revelation, when we shall see face to face and later down, every text is a page of code of mute signifies. And listen now, it's an unnatural, fantastic coincidence. This is clear to children who have not yet learned to read, or to adults looking at a page written in a language unknown to them. When we do learn to read the characters on the page, we are learning cryptography. How to crack the code before us. How to decipher the ciphers. There's no coincidence there's a mentioning of children here. And we spoke in lecture 1938 how children learn ciphers or deeds or the word ouch. You read the text, you have no understanding, and you repeat letter by letter, the cipher by cipher. Slowly, there is an incision, a grafting, and no longer will, as it said here, the signifiers be mute. They will become animated, put to life, vivid, but they are still closely connected to the action. The real reading is not an internal reading process. It is something that we do. It's an act. Yes, it has a mental side to it. That's when the understanding comes, what is mentioned further down. It's about 5 lines down in the 3rd paragraph. But often that longing is disappointed as full understanding does not dawn, as full recognition is delayed. Either we cannot quite work out the cipher, or the language are open to many meanings, and we do not know where the truth lies. But the second leg of that sentence doesn't happen. Knowing the ciphers, deciding them, repeating them, iterating them, will bring satisfaction. You do not have to be disappointed. Until recently, the Bible, for instance, was read in a language incomprehensible, that Austin or Grice or Russell would say. No, it is not. We know that. Meaning is reached little by little, and you will not be able to express the meaning, but your system will feel it. It is even so, having the idea that every word has meaning is overusing the word meaning, which is actually a word very seldom used in language. Meaning and understanding is more doing, action, deed. Ouch! I have participated in many masters where it's read in an unknown language, and I'd say it's even a stronger understanding, much stronger. A lot of iteration has gone on all over the world for millennia. We now know also technically how that works in the quantum field. Every iteration strengthens the action by everyone. For instance, the common hymn of the common hymns of religion are quite different wavelength because they've been repeated over and over again. They do not look the same, even though it's a person who never pronounced them before. That can be clearly seen in an electrospectrograph. And once more, it's something I mentioned in the earlier, it's connected to morphic fields. Repetition makes for strengthening everywhere. People of the old age, they were quite aware of this. Meaning doesn't have to elude us. Only the overt, explicit meaning, where you do either rule number 1, practicing ostension, point at it, that's a table, or that is John the Baptist, or the second one, which is more deceitful, you explain it. You tell someone what the meaning of a word is. I think we got a pretty clear understanding during this lecture series that that is completely wrong, or doesn't really make any sense, more correctly. Kalle, please come and join. You tell us when it's ready.
Thank you. So, this was most interesting. Paper by Robert Price.
Kalle, could
And
you
I
please
also
speak a bit louder into the microphone?
yes,
I'm sitting here with a very bad speaker.
and I also thought about mute signifiers.
Oh yeah.
So we have on one hand signifiers together with words like code. Codes are also usually understood as signifiers.
Yeah.
And signifiers, we can think about the Saussurian. You have signifier
Oh yeah.
and signified.
Yeah, definitely. Very good.
But so he Price implicitly accepts Saussure, I suppose. So you
I would
have
say, lies in the foundation. You don't even have to acknowledge him, but you're absolutely correct, I'd say, from my point of view, yeah.
So how do we? So there's a public scholar called I could actually show it here. Let me see. Jamie, let me see. Jamie Davis. Here. In a new video, he has also published a book, Jamie Davis, and he speaks that usually public scholars, they want to crack the code, so to say.
Oh yeah.
Crack the code, and then they then they forget about the image, as if the image is less important. The metaphor.
Yeah.
So I think that is the problem. Also, well, let's say mathematics, you focus on the numbers, so to say, as if they were the reality.
Yeah.
But how do you overcome this problem with signified or signified, which is implicitly via? So I will only do this first 2 minutes.
Well,
so
for me, it was,
Davis,
if I can speak personally, for me, it was a great revelation when my professor in phonetics showed that people reading a text from an unknown language, they still had a 60-70% understanding. This is very important because it has to do with iteration and morphic fields. The repetition makes for understanding. So we lost contact with Kalle here. But let me just go into the text even more. The idea that signifiers are mute because they somehow do not connect to signified. This is what we challenged, especially with the article of how tongue. There is no absolute disjunction here. The interwovenness makes it accessible, the deed, the use of the words. Whereas meanings or the intentions is the confusion that develops once we get too deep into this disclusion, and then we end up in a misunderstanding of language that when in reality language extremely seldom use the idea of meaning, the explanation type, a bit like a bachelor is an unmarried man and so forth. Very seldom that happens. Now Kalle is back with us. Please join. I was just saying, Perusia of meaning always eludes us. I don't think completely, because meaning is out there. We are all participating in an equal quantum field. And that is as a close connection to the article we read some time ago. You cannot follow a rule only once. It is by iteration something gets strong. Meaning is actually its criterion, the doing.
So we actually need this eluding the difference. The difference is actually necessary.
It is necessary. It's the difference between the word and the criterion. It happens simultaneously, but they are also disconnected by time and space. The complementarity of wave particle.
Are you able to see my screen there?
Oh, yeah.
Document. So in order to bridge the divide, let's say the code versus image or metaphor, or the context, this is my, what you say, neologism world, where you put the L within parentheses.
Yeah.
So here you have the signifier and signified together. So you're gonna say that, let's say, that the 666 points to something only in the text, but also it points to the world, and this also implies the observer, actually the child and the adult who reads the text. So this is my neologism.
Very good. I've seen it before. I like it. Very good, Kalle. Beautiful.
And they're almost homonyms, not completely, but almost word and word. But let's enter. I propose, Hans.
Yeah, let's do that. I was so happy to see this happy synchronicity. This is no coincidence, and I think most people today ignore these things. We are so used to the classical world, so nothing miraculous can happen, and I think that includes atheists as well as religious people today. But that there is a child here, and they try to learn a science. That's too close to be nothing but synchronicity. That is in itself. quite amazing. Thank you very much, Kalle Lundahl. Have a very pleasant day, everyone else, morning or evening, wherever you are. Bye-bye for now. And now I end the recording.